TechDaily.AI, your source for technical information. This deep dive is sponsored by StoneFly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup, disaster recovery, hyper-converged in VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, and public and private cloud. Check out stonefly.com or email your project requirements to sales@stonefly.com. Welcome to our deep dive today.
Glad to be here.
We're tackling something that I know frustrates a lot of innovators, just how long it can take to get a patent.
Oh, yeah. It's a common pain point.
You put all this work into an invention, and then you're just waiting sometimes, over 2 years? Easily?
Easily. The standard process, it averages around 25 months, sometimes longer, for a final decision. It can feel like an eternity.
Right, especially if your market moves fast. So it makes you wonder, is there, a faster path?
Well, there is actually.
Yeah.
The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO, they have a specific program for this. It's called the Track 1 Prioritized Examination Program.
Track 1. Okay, sounds promising. So for anyone listening who's feeling that frustration, this is what we're digging into.
Exactly.
We want to unpack what Track 1 really is, how it actually works, who it's really designed for, and, the bottom line. Is it worth considering if you need that patent protection faster?
Yeah, our mission here is to give you a really clear picture, the pros, the cons, the details, so you can figure out if it fits your strategy.
Perfect. Okay, let's start with the basics. Track 1, what is it in, practical terms?
So fundamentally, it's a fast-track option. It's available for utility patents, which are the most common kind, and also for plant patents.
Okay.
It came out of the America Invents Act, and the core promise, the big selling point, is getting a final decision from the USPTO within about 12 months.
12 months?
Roughly 12 months, yeah. That's their goal from when they actually grant your request to be on Track 1. And that final decision could be, an allowance to get the patent or a final rejection, or maybe you abandon the application.
Wow, okay. 12-month versus potentially 25 plus. That is a huge difference.
It's significant.
So it's sort of like getting a fast pass at an amusement park, but for your patent?
That's a great analogy, actually. Yeah, your application gets prioritized handling all the way through. It basically lets you jump the queue, bypass a lot of that backlog that causes the standard delays.
Moves you right to the front. Sounds amazing. But I'm guessing there are some strings attached. Eligibility requirement.
Oh, definitely. You have to meet certain criteria. It's not just open to absolutely everyone or every application type.
Okay, what are the main ones?
Well, for utility patents, you have to file electronically. That's mandatory.
E-filing, right.
Plant patents are still paper, interestingly. But the big one is claim limits.
Ah, okay. Limits.
Yes. You're capped at a maximum of 4 independent claims.
4.
And no more than 30 total claims in the entire application.
30 total. Okay.
And another key thing. You can't use multiple dependent claims.
Right. Those are the ones where a claim refers back to, 2 or 3 other claims at once. Makes it complicated.
Exactly. Track 1 requires a more straightforward, focused claim structure. It helps keep the examination moving quickly.
That makes sense. Keep it clean for speed. Is it only for brand new applications?
Good question. Mostly, yes. It's primarily for new utility and plant applications.
Yeah.
But you can potentially use it when you file what's called a Request for Continued Examination, or RCE.
An RCE, right? When you're kind of restarting examination after a rejection.
Correct. But the key is the Track 1 request has to go in with the initial application filing or with the RCE filing. You can't be halfway through the normal process and then decide, hey, let's speed this up now.
Got it. You have to opt in from the start, basically.
Exactly. You commit to the fast track up front.
Okay, so that covers the what and the how. Let's talk about the when. When does Track 1 really make sense? What kind of innovator or situation benefits most?
Yeah, there are definitely scenarios where it offers a huge advantage. I mean, the most obvious one is time-sensitive markets.
Yeah. Right, like tech.
Absolutely. Tech, biotech, clean energy, any field where the pace of innovation is just incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Getting your patent protection locked down quickly isn't just nice, it can be crucial for your competitive edge.
Yeah, waiting 2 years in some tech sectors, your invention might almost be old news by then, or someone else is caught up.
Precisely. Delays can mean lost market share, lost opportunities, real economic impact. Speed is paramount.
Okay, fast-moving industries. What else?
Fundraising is another big one. Or licensing.
Ah, interesting. How so?
Well, imagine you're a startup pitching to VCs, or maybe you're trying to license your technology to a bigger company. Having a granted U.S. patent, that's a massive asset.
It shows you actually own the IP.
Exactly. It de-risks it for the investor or the licensee.
Yeah.
Getting that patent granted quickly through Track 1 can make your pitch much stronger, potentially lead to better terms, maybe even higher funding or licensing fees.
So it adds concrete value faster. I can see that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then there's infringement risk. If you think competitors are already working on something similar or might try to copy you once you launch,
Yeah.
getting your patent issued faster means you can enforce your rights sooner.
Right. You're not stuck waiting and watching while someone potentially eats your lunch. You can actually do something about it.
You can send cease and desist letters. You can file lawsuits if necessary. You have the leverage of an issued patent much earlier.
That's a powerful position.
Yeah.
What about aligning with, say, a product launch?
Absolutely. A key use case. If you can time your patent grant to coincide with your product debut, that's ideal.
Why is that?
It maximizes your impact. You launch the product and you can say patent pending, or even better, patented. It acts as a strong deterrent against immediate copycats. It sends a clear signal you've secured your IP.
Yeah, patented definitely carries more weight than patent pending.
It really does.
Okay, so it sounds incredibly useful in these specific, high-stakes, time-sensitive situations. But you mentioned earlier it's not for every application, even if you want speed.
That's right. Track 1 works best when the application itself is already in really good shape.
Meaning?
Meaning it's well written, the invention is clearly described, the claims are well supported by the description and drawings. If your application needs a lot of back and forth, significant amendments, adding new data after filing, that can actually undermine the whole point of Track 1.
Ah, so you can't just rush a half-baked application through. It might actually slow you down or limit what you get.
Exactly. Trying to fix major issues during the accelerated process can be difficult and might compromise the scope of protection you end up with. It sort of defeats the purpose.
So the advice would be get your ducks in a row before you file for Track 1.
Absolutely. In fact, there's a strategic consideration here. It often makes sense to invest more upfront in really nailing down your claim strategy if you're planning on Track 1.
How so?
Well, one approach is to focus the initial Track 1 application on the core, most clearly novel part of your invention. Aim for a somewhat narrower but very strong and defensible set of claims.
Get the key thing protected fast.
Right. Increase your chances of getting a quick allowance on that core innovation. Then, once that's granted, you can file follow-on applications, like continuation applications, to pursue broader protection.
Ah, so secure the beachhead quickly, then expand.
Exactly. That way you get the speed benefit for the crucial part, and you can take a bit more time, perhaps at a standard pace and cost, to build out the broader protection later. It can be more efficient overall.
That's a really smart strategy. Okay, we've talked a lot about speed. Are there other benefits to Track 1 besides just getting it done faster?
Speed is definitely the main driver, but yes, there are a couple of other potential upsides. We mentioned the timeline goal, first office action in months, final disposition in about 12. The actual performance is often even better.
Really?
Yeah, the USPTO publishes stats. For 2023, the average time to final disposition for Track 1 applications was just over 5 months.
5 months average. Wow, that's incredibly fast compared to the standard track.
It really is. It shows the program is delivering on its promise of speed.
Okay, 5 months average. That's impressive. Anything else?
Well, there's some data suggesting potentially higher allowance rates for Track 1 applications.
Higher chance of getting the patent granted.
It seems that way. Rates have been observed hovering near 60%, which tends to be higher than the overall average for standard applications.
Why would that be?
It could be a few things. Maybe the streamlined process itself encourages quicker resolution. Maybe applicants who choose Track 1 are putting extra effort into drafting really solid, focused applications to begin with, knowing it's going to be looked at quickly.
So better preparation leads to better outcomes.
That's likely part of it. It's probably a combination of the focused process and more carefully prepared applications. But yeah, potentially higher allowance rate is another attractive aspect.
Faster and maybe a better shot at success. That's compelling.
It is. And then, stepping back, there's the overall strategic edge we touched on.
Right, the market position.
Exactly. Early issuance strengthens your hand in licensing talks, potential litigation, for market entry. It just puts you on firmer ground sooner. And it can also play nicely with other acceleration programs like the Patent Prosecution Highway, the PPH.
PPH, what's that quickly?
That's a framework where participating patent offices agree to fast-track examination for applications where the claims have already been found allowable by another participating office. So getting a quick U.S. allowance via Track 1 could potentially speed up your applications in other countries too.
Ah, okay. So it can have downstream benefits for international filings. Very useful.
It can, yeah. Adds another layer of value.
All right, this all sounds fantastic, but I hear the but coming. The cost. Speed usually isn't free, right?
That is the major trade-off, yes.
Yeah.
Track 1 comes with significant additional fees, on top of all the standard patent filing, search, and examination fees you'd pay anyway.
Okay, how significant are we talking? Lay out the numbers for us.
Sure. As of early 2025, these fees can change, mind you, for a large entity. The prioritized examination fee itself is $4,200, plus there's a $140 processing fee. So that's $4,340 extra.
Okay, over $4,000 extra for large companies. What about smaller ones?
For small entities, the prioritized exam fee is $1,680, and the processing fee is $70. So $1,750 total extra.
Still a chunk of change. And micro entities.
For micro entities, it's $840 for the prioritized exam and $35 for processing, totaling $875.
Okay, so $875 to nearly $4,400 extra, depending on your size, just for the Track 1 service.
That's correct. Added right on top of your normal patent costs.
And crucially, are these refundable if, say, your patent gets rejected?
No, they are absolutely non-refundable.
Ouch.
Yeah. Once you pay for Track 1 and they grant the prioritized status, that money is spent, regardless of the final outcome of the examination.
That really emphasizes your earlier point, doesn't it? You need to be pretty confident in your application's chances before you shell out for Track 1.
Absolutely. You need to do a careful assessment of patentability. Is the invention likely novel and non-obvious? Is the application strong? Because you're making a significant financial bet on getting a faster, hopefully positive outcome.
It's a real strategic calculation then, weighing that extra cost against the potential value of speed.
Exactly. You have to ask, what's the cost of delay?
Hmm.
In those fast-moving industries we talked about, the cost of being 2 years late to market, or late in securing funding, or late in stopping an infringer, that cost could vastly exceed the Track 1 fee.
Right. The fee might seem high in isolation, but compared to lost revenue or lost opportunity, it could be a bargain.
It really could be. It depends entirely on the specific context of the invention and the market.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Track 1, significantly faster patent process, USPTO aiming for 12 months, often delivering in closer to 5 or 6.
Correct. Speed is the headline benefit.
Potentially higher allowance rates, maybe around 60%, possibly due to better preparation and focused examination.
That seems to be the case, yeah. Another plus.
And clear strategic advantages for things like fundraising, licensing, enforcement, product launches, especially in fast-paced fields.
Definitely provides a strategic edge.
But the flip side is the cost an extra $875 to $4,340, non-refundable.
The main hurdle, yes. And it works best for applications that are already well-drafted and ready for prime time.
Right. Not a shortcut for fixing problems.
So it sounds like a really valuable tool in the toolbox, but you need to choose carefully when to use it.
That sums it up perfectly. It's powerful for the right situation, particularly when that rapid IP protection is critical.
This has been incredibly helpful, really breaking down Track 1. It definitely clarifies when and why an innovator might go down this path.
Yeah, we could shed some light on it. And it does make you think, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, as these kinds of accelerated programs become more established, you have to wonder, how does the option of getting a patent in, say, 6 months instead of 2 years change the whole game? How does it reshape innovation strategies, competitive dynamics, especially in those industries totally driven by speed? That's a great closing thought. How does the very existence of a fast track alter the race itself? Something for everyone to mull over. Thanks again for walking us through all this.
My pleasure.
And a final word from our sponsor, TechDaily.AI, your source for technical information. This deep dive was sponsored by StoneFly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup, disaster recovery, hyper-converged and VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, and public and private cloud. Check out stonefly.com or email your project requirements to sales@stonefly.com.